Here we are, Swans fans. These are the 5 best home and away wins that you have ever got to enjoy. My guest, Adam Spencer, former number 1 ticket holder, absolute Swans feral. So at times he's the only person you can hear at the SCG. Everyone else is yelling. He's just that loud. Are you Sydney born and raised? Is this?
Yeah, born in Sydney, and saw my first ever game of AFL football in the late 1970s when they played a sort of demonstration up here to sort of test the market. It was between Carlton and St Kilda. So just toss of a coin. I supported the team in black. It turned out to be a very dark blue. And so for the first sort of 20 years that I had a passing interest in the game, just because it's a sport and I don't mind sport.
Of course.
I was probably a Carlton fan.
Okay.
And then the Swans came up here, but I didn't care enough to go or anything. I was just whatever. And then I started, and my allegiances started to swing when I thought a bit more about the game and watched a few games live in the late 90s, that sort of stuff. And I remember being here for a game, and Swans are playing Carlton, and Brendan Favola kicks a goal, and I'm booing along with everyone else. And I thought, wow, I've changed, fantastic. Then in the early 2000s, the Swans started to run an ambassadors program. I was on Triple J. They reached out, started to come to more games, and just watched the majesty of this sport live, and the rust started setting in.
Excellent.
And totally rusted. I do get the occasional chirp when I'll say something pro-Swans on Twitter. Oh, yeah, still support Carlton, don't you?
That's it.
Ancient history. We've all moved on.
Well, so you've had if you've been a Swans fan since the early 2000s, you've had a pretty good run of some great wins. Let's get into them. Okay. What is the 5th best home and away win?
And these are all so great. I'm almost going in random order.
Sure.
They've got 7 different games. Let's go to 2018 against the Bombers.
Great.
This is a great game of football. And this is where a little mini love-hate rivalry between the Swans and the Bombers opens up for quite a few years. Love-hate as in we loved playing them. They hated us.
You really did have some great wins against them.
We fell over the line a couple of times. They blew it a couple of times. Dane Rampy tried to climb a post once.
I love that.
Just once. Love your work, Dane. 2018 against the Bombers. Even I'm looking on going, we're probably done here.
Yeah.
It's within the last 3 minutes, and we're 3 goals down. Goes forward. I think Nick Newman grabs the first one for us, now the Carlton defender, pushing forward for us because we just needed something. Yeah, we're still 2 goals down. We're well within the last 2 minutes. A little Tom Papley might grab a cheeky goal then. I think it was Newman and Paps, and we're suddenly within, but it's all over, and the game's over, and and we're suddenly forward, and Dane Rampy wins the ball in this scramble and kicks it forward, and it's Mark, Gary Rowan marks it on the line as the siren goes, kicks the goal, and we win. But there's a beautiful moment before that locks the ball in there to create that. When Brendan Goddard has the ball for Essendon, he's going to bring it out from one of those standard just restarts. It's the old day tap and go. But once he does that and launches it 60 metres, we're done. This
Absolutely.
is over.
Game over.
Boom. He goes to do it, and Packley, who never gives in.
Never.
But he's not the tallest guy to have played the game.
No, but he's an absolute little whippet.
Runs in and leaps up enough to put a smother on this Goddard kick in. The ball goes out. That creates the final play.
Right.
That goes to Gary Rowan, that kicks the goal, and that famous footage of John Longmire sitting in the coach's box just going...
Yeah. You would have thought he'd lost.
With BT saying something like, what just happened? What just happened? He doesn't know what happened. None of us knew what happened, except we knew the Swans had got the 4 points against the Bombers.
Number 4.
Now, I love about this podcast...
Well, it's a video. It's a YouTube series.
Yeah, right.
Vlog, whatever you want to call it.
I love about this piece of art that we're creating.
Thank you.
That you're not allowed to nominate finals.
That's right.
For your best or your worst, because it's
too easy.
So much more.
Which would you choose? What would you choose for your favourite final?
Oh, like
2005, Granny?
No, 2012 I got to host the Swans winning party.
I got to do that for the Bulldogs. Yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the if you can't crush that gig, you
mate,
should really give it away. But you're not allowed to do it because there's so much more emotion. So so I'm going to choose for one of our greatest wins, a regular season win, in a really disappointing season where we don't even make the finals.
Very rare these
2019
days.
For the Swans. It's a bit of a dip year.
Oh, this was your rebuild.
Yeah.
Which took about 20 minutes.
That's the way we rebuild around here in Sydney. We don't muck around. We've got a lot of property developers here who can whip something up in a night. But rarely as stable as a Swans rebuild. But yeah, we're off slightly, and it's a year that we're farewelling some greats of the game from our club. Nick Smith, the brilliant small defender who still holds the AFL record for most games played without ever polling a Brownlow vote.
Really?
Yep.
Well done,
It's
Smithy.
something like 211 games for 0. Because he's a small fullback.
They're not going to get anything.
When he has the game of a life, all you walk away from is thinking, oh, was that guy playing for the other team or not?
Yeah.
Mate, first guy
Jeez,
picked.
Jonathan Brown was quiet.
Yeah, mate, Nick Smith, just a brilliant lockdown.
Also, his name, Nick Smith. I mean, it's too generic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
You need to change it to Latham Vandermeer or
Yes,
something like that.
Yeah. A tough season. We're farewelling Nick Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Heath Grundy's leaving.
Oh, okay, yep.
And Kieran Jack and Jared McVeigh are leaving as well. It's the last round against St Kilda. And I think it might be Buddy Franklin's 300th career game in total across 2 clubs. So there's a small bit of celebration there. But it's just not a great vibe that season. And the boys just turn it on. And we have a great game. And we beat St Kilda reasonably comfortably.
Okay.
But there's a great moment near the end of the game where Jared McVeigh just ghosts forward, gets a ball, kicks a goal in his final game with just minutes to go in the last quarter, and suddenly everyone's just a chance to thank a great player, great servant of the club, like a really, really good player.
Good
Jared
bloke
McVeigh,
as well.
Great guy, and just carry this place and the Bloods culture for a long time. That iconic moment of him in the 2012 grand final, hands in the air after we win it, all that sort of stuff, right? So we're just up and about going, that's great, it's fantastic. There's another guy called Kieran Jack playing his final game.
Did he get one?
About 90 seconds later, the ball comes out to Kieran Jack and he's about 60, 70 metres out on the left flank where he played a lot. And the only play at that stage is for him to just lace it down to a couple of our guys who have got a bit of space in the goal square because St Kilda are out on their feet.
That's right.
He looks down and he sees all those guys just waving him on. You've never seen more guys who can kick a goal going, no, just go.
This is for you.
Just go.
Yep.
And he starts to run at it. And Kieran's a pretty good kick of the footy, but it's a missable kick.
Yep.
And every person in the crowd is just oh no, don't tell me. Don't tell me. And it just goes straight through. I've never seen a team celebrate missing out on finals like we did when that final siren sounded, because if you'd even Buddy's 300th, you would have taken it.
Yep.
Right? One to Kieran and Jared. It was just for 2 great players to then be cheered off having with pretty much their last kicks of a football each in AFL football to have bisected the middle on the SCG. Just a great day.
That's perfect. Number 3, best win.
Let's go to 2008, and we had a guy, he played with us, and his name was, I can't remember, what was it? It was Adam Goods.
Yeah.
Went all
I remember
right.
him. Brett Goods' brother.
Yes,
that's right.
He was indeed. Adam Goods went all right. One of the things that people, like the incredible thing about Goodsy as a player, that is lost sometimes in when you see the highlight reel, was his versatility as a player.
Yeah.
For a tall guy, he could pick the ball off his laces at speed.
Yep.
Like the best small players you could hope for. At the same time, he spent a lot of time pinch hitting in the ruck.
Yes.
He could go for... And Goodsy played 372 games, kicked 480 goals. So it was good for a goal a game. A goal and a bit of game.
Good. About 3 players in my life, I've gone to a neutral game and just watched one player.
Yeah.
I watched Goodsy.
I genuinely think if Goodsy had not been so good in the ruck and couldn't pick things up at speed off his play, if he had just played as a forward, I think Goodsy would have, given that playing predominantly midfield and ruck, he kicked a goal in a bit of game.
Yeah.
I think you've got to give him, if he spent the entire time forward, you've got to give him another goal a game, I would have thought.
Oh, definitely.
He has suddenly kicked 850 goals.
Yeah.
Right?
He'd be one of the greats, but...
Goodsy, in all seriousness, and I've never said this publicly before, if he played his career as just a tall forward, he would have gone very close to 1,000 goals in his career.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, the versatility, unbelievable. We're playing Port Adelaide, and they're on an absolute fly against us.
Okay.
And it's just one of these goal for goal, ding-dong struggles. Both teams kick over 100 points, right? And Goodsy kicks 4 goals in the first half, kicks 4 goals in the second half. Goal 5 is a length of the field thing that starts with Brett Kirk, finishes with Goodsy. The great Brett Kirk lines Goodsy up for a couple of times here, who on his way to kicking 8 goals is also spending time out-rucking Aaron Sandilands in the middle of the field. And again in this game, we kicked 3 goals in the last few minutes. to win it, including one from him, and then big bad bustling Barry Hall puts the icing on the cake for an incredible team win, but also one of the best games you've ever seen one of the best players of all time play.
If not, arguably the best.
Right.
I think I'm not a Swans fan, but I think we can put him up there.
I think in most, but like it's Don Bradman's the best cricketer ever. There's very few other, like something like 100-metre running, you can say Usain Bolt's the best because these things are time. You get into these other sports, comparing eras, styles, where there's just there's a group.
Yep.
You can't have a discussion. You can't say, here's 5 players who were better than Adam Goodes.
No, right? You can't.
It doesn't mean he's necessarily objectively the greatest of all time, but he has to be in any realistic conversation.
Definitely.
Of an all-time AFL 22, you'd struggle to leave him out. And on this day,
no chance.
Even by his own standards, he was exceptional.
He is officially the Billy Connolly of AFL. And the second best win of the Sydney Swans Football Club, South Melbourne, Adam Spencer.
It's great where a great win for your club also coincides with just one of the iconic moments in the history of Australian sport.
Okay.
We're going to 2022.
Yep.
We're going to Buddy against Geelong at the SCG, where he kicks his 1,000.
Yep.
And this is a real interesting night.
I feel like in order to do this properly, a woman should just stand in front of the camera here, and we'll just try and...
But let's get the lead up to that. He goes into that game on 996.
Mm-hmm.
There's no guarantee at all he's going to kick 4. At that time in his career, the odds that he might have kicked 3, and then that great moment would have been against your guys at Marvel Stadium the week after.
Wow, that's the best stadium in the world, mate. You're welcome.
Was a 50-50 proposition, I think. He gets a goal early, has 2 at half time.
Yeah, sounds right.
But it's then starting to flag a little bit. He gets one early in the third, and he's on 9-9. And it's when he's the first couple of goals, he reacts like normal goals. Mm-hmm. The 9-9-9, he starts to do a bit of, and you can see he's starting to think, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And I remember, and we've got Geelong covered at this stage. We're good 5 or 6 goals up, and I remember saying to someone next to me, there's no way they're going to give it to him, but just put yourself in the mind of a Geelong fullback here at the moment, thinking, well, I can either be here when history happens, and something happens we will probably never see again, or I could really shut him in a game we've lost.
Yeah. Or you want to be...
Or I could really shut him down and have my grandkids say, where were you watching on TV the week after when Buddy kicked his... And I'm not suggesting for a second Geelong, but he just wanted it so much.
Absolutely. When you go on front bar, you want to be able to say, yeah, Buddy kicked his 1,000th on me.
So when Chad Warner bursts through the middle and hits Buddy, laces out... Again, he's kicked a lot of goals in his career. He can kick a goal. This is not a gimme.
No.
It's a good kick from where it's got to go. Try telling that to the 1,000 people who, as the ball left his boot, had already hopped the fence and were running. If that had missed, it would have been a fiasco.
Yeah.
Almost as big a fiasco as it was when the 6 security guards at the SCG purely spent their time standing at the fence going, hey, no, you're not... Excuse me. No. Excuse, hey. As... There's no way it was less than 30,000 people.
Yep.
Ran onto the ground.
Yep.
Buddy's directing traffic to try and get people. He's going, okay, I've got to go over here towards that. And what was amazing, I didn't get in really tight to it.
Oh, you jumped the fence?
I was, mate and I, after about 20 minutes, when it was clearly not clean, decided we'd walk down and leisurely just walk onto the field.
Fair enough.
One of my oldest mates,
yep,
who I've known since 3rd grade, and we've got a photo with the board in the background. But for that intensity of crowd crush to not turn ugly, because it was just people who all just wanted to be there and there wasn't horrible surges. You know, note to self, if it happens again, we could probably do security a little bit better that day. Yeah. But the stories, right? Dane Rampy, walking up towards the dressing room, spots a group who've thrown a picnic rug down and are having a picnic on the SCG, sits down with them, I think has a bite of a pie, might have had a cheeky quarter of a beer.
Good on you, Rampy.
Right? Walks off. Chad Warner and Ollie Florent can't get to our dressing rooms.
Yeah, so they leave the ground.
They can only squeeze out via the Geelong Sheds race onto Driver Avenue, where they have to turn left, walking through a sea of people, and talk their way back in, their main argument being, we're wearing football boots, we're clearly playing. What I love, and the woman who ran out and emptied her grandmother's ashes onto
legend.
the SC, like these sort of moments, and it was worth every single second.
What is the best win of the Swans in home and away seasons, Adam?
And again, this is a personal one. It's a great win, and a lot of people might put it in their top 5 or top 10, but for me, it really worked. I was in Bali in 2008 on a family holiday, and when the Swans played West Coast in round 11.
Okay.
Swans West Coast at this stage has become one of the great rivalries.
Was this the time when like all of your games were less than a goal?
Like like statistically, in the history of the AFL, VFL, if you're looking for rivalries, find me back-to-back grand finals decided by less than a kick.
Yep.
In a string of something like 8 games, 7 of which are decided by less than a kick, where we win over there as much as they win over here. There's just nothing between these two teams.
Yep.
There are insinuations that some West Coast players have made lifestyle choices around that time that might have transgressed it. So there's just every level. 2005, we win the grand final.
Great grand final.
Ben Cousins wins the Norm Smith Medal for best on ground. That's weird because in 2006, when they win the grand final, pretty sure Chris Judd picks up the Norm Smith, because even in close grand finals, I think we agree, the Norm Smith has to go to the best player on the winning team.
And who should it be?
Not in 2005, it didn't.
Who should? Actually, it should have been. No, I remember watching that. Lewis Roberts Thompson.
Yeah, Lewis LRT in 2005, or Brett Kirk should have won it in 2006.
Okay.
Because he dragged the Swans single-handedly to within a kick of an incredible West Coast team. So it's on at all levels.
Yep.
I'm frustrated I'm going to miss it, but it's an away game. It's at Subiaco.
Yep.
So I'm in Bali with my kids. Not much AFL TV being streamed directly into Bali at that stage.
No
Don't
KO.
have the app. I don't think we had apps in 2008. But there is a television that picks up a sort of combined Australian news service and runs some stuff. And it turns out on the Wednesday night of that week, they're going to be replaying Swans West Coast.
And do you know who's won?
I know the result. So I
Okay.
think I'm going to watch this. This will be fun to watch. The only thing that could make this more fun would be, and it's not going to happen because I'm in Bali, but imagine if a few minutes into the game, someone comes and sits next to me and starts cheering because they're a West Coast fan. And imagine if they're not just any West Coast fan, but even by the standards of West Coast fans, the sort of person who's just being unnecessarily like nasty in his commentary, saluting every goal West Coast take to lead by 6 goals at halftime. Right? And the only solace I have is 2 things. 1, I know how the game ends up. 2, I have the phone number of one Jude Bolton, who kicks the winning goal after the siren, having drawn a free from Adam Hunter, who is one of those players in the category of, you're so talented, you just don't need to be such a tosser. And the only thing that gives me more joy than watching the West Coast guy drop back in his chair as I stand up, having not made a sound for the whole game, and start singing the Swans theme song, is to look down at my phone and see a text message from Jude Bolton, I've already prepped him on the situation, and this guy doesn't know and I can't wait. And Jude Bolton's message, Adam, enjoy yourself as you swim in the river of tears that he's crying. Go Swans!
How was that, Swans fans? I hope you loved it. If you've got any other suggestions for best home and away wins,
There's been a lot.
There's been a lot. Chuck them in the comments, and don't forget to follow Adam on social media, and just see him if you hear him at games, just go and buy him a beer. Hey, he deserves it. And good luck in the grand final this year. That's right. I'm jinxing you, Swans. Lid off. Come off. Come off.
There's a lid on the pot that's in a vault where there's no electricity.